Hey guys, welcome to the Daily Word Bible Study, a plain and simple, book by book, chapter by chapter, and verse by verse study of the entire Bible. We are in Psalm 51, so let's get to it. David's songs of praise. Not only David, I shouldn't say that because it's not only David, but um, I think it's safe to say that he has the collection here is probably mostly David. But anyway, I'm not a scholar, so I will concede if I am wrong. Psalm 52, verse 1. Why brag about evil, you hero? God's faithful love is constant. Like a sharpened razor, your tongue devises destruction, working treachery. You love evil instead of good, lying instead of speaking truthfully, Selah. You love any words that destroy. You treacherous tongue. Is this why God will bring you down forever? He will take you, ripping you out of your tents. He will uproot you from the land of the living, Selah. The righteous will look on with awe and will ridicule him. Here is the man who would not make God his refuge, but trusted in the abundance of his riches, taking refuge in his destructive behavior. But I'm like a flourishing olive tree in the house of God. I trust in God's faithful love forever and ever. Now you'll notice again in Psalm 1 when he talked about the man who trusts in God is like a tree planted by the river of the water. So this illustration is always constant throughout Scripture. Wicked man, on the other hand, is like flowers, like plants, like flowers, but or grass, and that's easily uprooted. Verse 9, I will praise you forever for what you've done. In the presence of your faithful people, I will put my hope in your name, for it is good. All right, Psalm 53. The fool says in his heart, God does not exist. Now, right off the bat, we see that atheism is not something new to our era, our time era. He says the fool says in his heart. I'm going to save the explicit definition of fool when we get to the book of Proverbs, because Proverbs deals a lot with that. But a fool says that. The way the Bible, especially Proverbs, uses the word fool. A fool is a person that does not believe God. That's a fool. Does not believe God. Does not believe. A fool is the person that may believe in God, but doesn't obey God. That's a fool. It's foolish. And then a fool is a person who does not believe in the existence of God. So when he says a fool says in his heart, God does not exist. Today's atheists will say God does not exist. There are atheists, hardcore atheists, they say God doesn't exist, and then they try to say, well, they lean on the hand of science. Well, that's a falsehood, because there is no science that has ever disproven the existence of God. In other words, at the very least, let's just say you don't know where God is. You haven't seen him, but you don't know where he is. And of course, to say that, if we go back to the other psalm that tells us that the heavens declare the handiworks of God, that's why it says a fool says God doesn't exist. I mean, when you stop and look at creation itself, right? And to say, well, nothing has designed this. We can go on and on. We won't get into this whole argument of creationism versus evolution. But what I'm saying is these things are just more the kind of crutch that atheists lean on. Evolution, science, like that, even though science does not disprove. In fact, I would say that science has not disproven the claims of the Bible. Now, on the other hand, let me say this, the Bible is a book of faith. And the Bible was never meant to be a book of science. And I think Christians make the mistake of trying to say, well, the Bible proves the existence of God. No, it doesn't. The Bible is written to those who believe it. It is a book of faith. We believe the claims. Like here, when we read that the earth is mine, all in it is mine. Well, I believe that claim. Atheists don't. And you can't prove that. It's going to take God himself to demonstrate and prove his existence. We believe he's going to do that. That's called the second coming of Christ. So it says, the fool says in his heart, God does not exist. They are corrupt and they do vile deeds. There is no one who does good. Now, if you refer to this line right here, you go back to Romans 3, verses, I believe it's 9 through 19. You see these verses. I said that Paul took these from a series of verses and strung them together. This is just one of them. He said, there is no one who does good. God looks down from heaven on the human race to see if there is one who is wise and one who seeks God. So you see that this, again, if anybody familiar with Romans 3, you can see where Paul quoted this from. And so now you're talking about this, what's called the depravity of man being dead in his sin. This is a result of man being dead in his sin. He is not good, never. Verse 3, all have turned away, all alike have become corrupt. There is no one who does good, not even one. Now I say that because if you look at culture today, they try to say that man is good. Man starts off good, maybe misguided, but he's good. And if you even think about it, like for sometimes in our science fiction, there's always good in somebody. The whole Star Wars, even Darth Vader had that little good hidden down inside of him, and took Luke to chip away at all of the hardness until he found the good. Now God looks at man and says, not even one. There's no one who does good, not even one. Verse 4. Will evildoers never understand? They consume my people as they consume bread. They do not call on God. Then they will be filled with terror like no other, because God will scatter the bones of those who beseech you. You will put them to shame, for God has rejected them. Oh, that Israel's deliverance would come from Zion, when God restores the fortunes of his people, Jacob will rejoice, Israel will be glad. All right. Psalm 54. Psalm 54. God, save me by your name and vindicate me by your might. God, hear my prayer. God, hear my prayer. Listen to the words of my mouth. For strangers rise up against me, and violent men seek my life. They have no regard for God, Selah. God is my helper. The Lord is the sustainer of my life. He will repay my adversary for their evil. Because of your faithfulness, annihilate them. Now remember, we wouldn't pray that prayer. Jesus tells us to pray for our enemies, right? Bless those that curse us. Verse 6. I will sacrifice a freewill offering to you. I will praise your name, Yahweh, because it is good. For he has delivered me from every trouble, and my eye has looked down on my enemies. Psalm 55. Okay, let's go here. Psalm 55. God, listen to my prayer, and do not ignore my plea for help. Pay attention to me and answer me. I am restless and in turmoil with my complaint because of my enemy voices, because of the pressures of the wicked. For they bring down disaster upon me and harass me in anger. Remember that these are songs. I know I'm reading them, and I dare not seek to sing them, but these are songs. In other words, if you were actually hearing the psalmist, he would be singing this. All right, verse 4. My heart shudders within me. Terrors of death sweep over me. Fear and trembling grip me. Horrors have overwhelmed me. I said, if only I had wings like a dove, I would fly away and find rest. How far away would I flee? I would stay in the wilderness, Selah. I would hurry to my shelter from my raging wind and storm. Lord, confuse and confound their speech, for I see violence and strife in the city. Day and night they make the rounds on its walls. Crime and trouble are within it. Destruction is inside it. Oppression and deceit never leave its marketplace. Now, it is not an enemy who insults me, otherwise I could bear it. It is not a foe who rises up against me, otherwise I could hide from him. But it is a man who is my peer, my companion and good friend. We used to have close fellowship, and we walked with the crowd to the house of God. Now, this has been used to say maybe this is referring to Jesus' relationship with Judah. Could be. In the sense now, this is also could be David referring to Ahithophel, one of the wisest counselors against him, who turned on him when David's son Absalom tried to overthrow David's kingdom. Verse 15, let death take them by surprise. Let them go down to Sheol alive, because evil is in their homes within them. Now, very interesting that in both cases, both men hung themselves. Ahithophel hung himself. Judas hung himself. Just a coincidence or interesting parallel. Verse 16, but I call to God, and the Lord will save me. I complain and groan morning, noon, and night, and he hears my voice. Though many are against me, he will redeem me from battle unharmed. God, the one enthroned from long ago, will hear and humiliate them, Selah. Because they do not change or do not fear God, my friends act violently against those that peace with him, violates his covenant. His buttery words are smooth, but war is in his heart. His words are softer than oil, but they are drawn swords. Cast your burdens on the Lord, and he will sustain you. He will never allow the righteous to be shaken. Now, again, keep this in mind how you ought to take this when you say shaken. Shaken from righteousness or shaken, period. I would say shaken from righteousness, but for sure. But if you say shaken, well, David has already, his Psalms express how he is shaken. So verse 23, God, you will bring them down to the pit of destruction, and men of bloodshed and treachery will not live out half their days. But I will trust in you. Psalm 56. Here we go. Be gracious to me, God, for man tramples me. He fights and oppresses me all day long. My adversaries tramples me all day. For many arrogantly fight against me. When I am afraid, I trust in you. In God I trust, I will not fear. What can man do to me? And this is often, of course, so true. What can man do to me? Well, they can torture me, they can kill me, there's a lot they can do. What he's referring to is to remove me from the place of righteousness in God. Verse 5, they twist my words all day long. All the thoughts against me are evil. They stir up strife. They lurk. They watch my steps while they wait and take my life. Will they escape in spite of such sin? God will bring down the nations of wrath. Now, I think too there's a good lesson here about there's a good lesson how we should always be mindful of the sinful nature. Sometimes I think there's a lot of Christians who don't, to me, they don't, they live in the world as if the world um, is right. Okay, all right. So uh, let's go here. Verse 8. You yourself have recorded my wanderings, put my tears in your bottle. Are they not in your records? Then my enemies will retreat on the day when I call. This I know God is for me. In God, whose words I praise, in the Lord, whose words I praise, in God I trust, I will not fear. Um, hmm. What can man do to me? I am obligated by vows to you, God, and I will make, for I will make my thank offerings to you. For you deliver me from death, even my feet from stumbling, to walk before God in the light of light. Uh, one more Psalm, 57. Psalm 57. Be gracious to me, God, be gracious to me, for I take refuge in you. I will seek refuge in the shadow of your wings until danger pass. I call to the Most High, to God who fulfills his purpose for me. He reaches down from heaven and saves me, challenging the one who tramples me, Selah. God sends his faithful love and truth. I am surrounded by lions. I lie down with those who devour men. Their teeth are spears and arrows, and their tongues are sharp swords. God, be exalted above the heavens. Let your glory be over the whole earth. They prepare a net for my steps. I was despondent. They dug a pit for me, but they fell into it, Selah. My heart is confident. My, um, my heart is confident. I will sing praises. Wake up, my soul. Wake up, heart and lyre. I will wake up the dawn. I will praise you, Lord. I will praise you, Lord, among the peoples. I will sing praises to you among the nations for your faithful love as excuse me, for your faithful love is as high as the heavens. Your faithfulness reaches the clouds. God be exalted above the heavens. Let your glory be over the whole earth. Let me see if I got time for one more. If I can squeeze in one more. All right, let me do one more, guys. Psalm 58. Psalm 58. This is going to be a squeeze here. Psalm 58. Do you really speak? Do you really speak righteously, you mighty ones? Do you judge people fairly? No, you practice injustice in your heart. With your hands you weigh out violence in the land. The wicked go astray from the womb. Liars err from birth. They have venom like venom of a snake, like a death cobra that stops up its ears, that does not listen to the sound of the chambers, who skillfully wave spells. God, knock the teeth out of their mouths. Lord, tear out the young lion's fang. They will vanish like waters that flow by. They will aim their useless arrows like a slug that moves along in slime, like a woman miscarried child. They will not see the sun. Before your pot can feel the heat of the thorns, when the green are burning, he will sweep them away. The righteous ones will rejoice when he sees the retribution. He will wash his feet in the blood of the wicked. Then people will say, yes, there is a reward for the righteous. There is a God who judges on the earth. All right. Again, just a reminder of the way the Hebrews would compose their song with thought, telling stories, feelings of anguish, right? Not necessarily just what we call a meter and rhyme song. All right, guys, don't forget to like and share this video and subscribe to BP, the Bible Perspective. And as always, if you have a thought or comment, add it to the comments section below. All comments are welcome. And again, please like and share that video. And I will see you in the next study.